Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining the third session in our Evolving Your Remote First Workforce series. I'm Kate Thompson. I'll be fielding some of your questions to Andy today. So we know a lot of organisations who weren't remote work ready have adopted and got to grips with new technologies over the last few months. But now you want to be able to look at your longer term strategy moving forwards. Andy Rigg's going to cover a lot of this today, so if you have any questions, just pop them in the Q&A box and I'll bring them to him as we go along. Over to you, Andy.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. So this is part 3 in my Evolving Your Remote First Workforce webinar series. Today's session is about how to adapt to shifting user expectations for remote working. So as Kate said, my name's Andy Rigg. I'm a solutions architect at Perfect Image, and my focus is around public cloud, specifically Microsoft Azure and AWS. Okay, so today we're going to be covering the potential problems we face with remote work, the current working from home climates, how to innovate, how innovation can make or break your business, reimagine your post-workforce pandemic, how to thrive with a remote-first workforce, how to improve communication, productivity, and leadership, and also what makes a great end-to-end remote working solution. And finally, the future of remote working, challenges, fictions, and kind of example solutions. Okay, so do any of these sound familiar? Paper files and document. Are they inconvenient? Yes. Not secure when taking them home? Yes. GDPR, you've got no control over what can be done with them. You may have had to scan and email these around. So someone may have taken them home. If they do, no one else has access. You can't share paper like you can share a document on screen or an email, and email it to another person. But also you don't want multiple copies of these documents returning. And what if they were lost? You also can't co-author paper-based files, and what if somebody does have the only original copy? Then no one else can see what's going on with that client or project file. On-premise phone systems. Now that you've moved to home working, whether this is temporary or permanent for you, what do your staff do? It's unfair and unprofessional to ask them to use their personal phones, to call clients. Then you got your PCs, big physical desktops. They're inconvenient. Obviously not mobile. They take up lots of space. And they may include your on-premise files. Some of your systems, depending on how things were set up in documents. It's hard to access from home. VPNs, memory sticks, email and documents. Do you have the controls and the systems in place to be able to manage these devices remotely? These are symptoms of a traditional workplace. When you combine a few of these items together, the slower, clunkier, and ultimately less productive your workforce will become. It also means that that there'll be more of a change will be required, in the transition into a true remote working solution. So a true remote working solution is known as the modern workplace. So why is this so important? Innovation, right? So innovation is important so you don't get left behind. You're probably sick to death right now of hearing the C word, coronavirus, COVID-19. But this has rapidly impacted every single UK business. It has shown us the importance of remote work and the devastating consequences if businesses can't adapt. Tech is integral to business survival, its growth and success. It's the differentiator between companies that do okay and the companies that take over the world. On screen, think of Blockbuster and Netflix, taxis and Uber, H&B and iTunes, Takeaways and Just Eat. These are just some of the companies, that have done well out of actually having the agility and the actual innovation behind them. Some companies have found the transition from work from home difficult. Those are typically the ones with more traditional paper-based or on-premise workloads, or they have the older legacy systems in place where they require employees to be inside the four walls to do the job. So how can you make sure you're ready for what's coming with remote working? Well, remote working, it is here to stay. Whilst the move to remote working was abrupt, the return to the office for many will be much more gradual. The majority of UK employees say a mix of office-based and remote working is the best way forward post-COVID. This is according to new research by the Audit Group, UK and Ireland. A more hybrid approach in which some employees are on premise while others still work from home. The new model, will promise greater access to talent, increased productivity for individuals, and smaller teams with lower costs, more individual flexibility, and improved employee experiences. Many offices will adopt a hybrid approach, of Team A working on certain days and Team B working on other days. Kate Lister, president of the Global Workplace Analytics, predicts that between 25 and 30% of the workforce we're working from home remotely, obviously, for multiple days by the end of 2021. So we're going to continue for the next kind of year and a half in a remote first workloads. Many companies have already decided to shift to a permanent remote working model, with some shuttering their physical offices permanently. In fact, a recent survey from Gartner found that 74% of businesses plan to move some of their from previously on-site workforce to a permanent remote positions post COVID-19. A few examples of this, the big ones, so Twitter, their offices may open in September, but they're letting employees decide whether they want to return. You've also got KPMG, Barclays, Shopify, Coinbase, Lambda Schools. So these are just a few that are embracing a remote first model. We are already working with customers who are moving out of larger office spaces, downsizing, reducing their rental costs by moving to a remote first workforce. So some companies will return to an office-based kind of role or model, but these will be typically more the traditional versus the modern workplace. So the traditional, they're more going to have their paper-based on-prem legacy systems. Actually, I've got an upcoming webinar in August discussing how to achieve a modern workplace, if this is something that interests you. But right now, we're seeing that businesses and people that are in the office, they're typically the type of business that can't do their work remotely. It may be construction, maintenance services, vets, the kind of brick and mortar shops with little to no online presence. But also we're seeing that their support staff, and the functions like HR and admin, they're continuing to work from home and only going into the office when required. So let's take a look at some of the other considerations when managing a remote team and how your business can use remote working as an advantage and thrive. So whichever route you take, your primary concern should be your staff and how to keep them connected, productive and motivated. Leadership is crucial, but in a hybrid model, teams also need to adopt to the new norms and change the way they work if they are to maintain and improve productivity, collaboration, and innovation. To use the right communications method for the subject at hand. When developing trust, especially early on in the relationship, or discussing sensitive work-related issues such as promotions, pay, performance, face-to-face is still the preferred, method, if or when possible. Secondly, followed up by, video conferencing. Asynchronous communications, emails and texts, it's otherwise sufficient. Sometimes it's even better because it then allows time for the individuals to process that information, compose a response after some reflection and thought. But you'll know your employees and your staff best and which method works best for them. But the main point here is communication. Informal interactions, so have you ever run into a colleague in a hallway and by doing so you've learned something you didn't know? So the informal or the unplanned encounters, they foster the kind of cross-pollination of ideas between teams. So some approaches to try to improve informal interactions, which don't come about as easily in the virtual environments, include, leave part of your agenda meeting free. Leaders can also establish open door policies and hold, virtual fireside chats without any structured content at all. This will create a forum, for less informal interactions. Here at Perfect Image, I host one of these, so basically we have a 1 hour slot scheduled every Wednesday for, Ask the SA. So this not only allows, any member of Perfect Image to ask the questions, but to learn from the questions that other people have asked. So for us, this is going from supporting service desk staff, who want to learn about an item or a ticket that has been escalated, through to the sales teams who have questions about, a particular product or topic that they have to help them progress an opportunity that they're working on. So this is a forum that's across business intelligence, business systems, cloud, and IT infrastructure. So this is true cross-pollination of teams who wouldn't normally interact with each other. Virtual coffee rooms and social events, virtual conferences in which groups and private chat rooms and sessions, make sure you and your team members are all sending texts or messages, to one another, and that your messages and that you're messaging to your team regularly, for informal check-ins. These new norms, we've got to embrace what we're doing at the moment with a remote first workforce. Be sure to go beyond, the impulse to monitor inputs and activity, for as a proxy for productivity. Metrics focused on inputs or volume, of activity have always been a poor substitute for the true productivity, that boasts outcomes and results. When applied to remote working, counting inputs might leave you, grasping at the numbers of hours the employees are spending in front of the computers, or logged into the servers or services. Small teams are the lifeblood of organizational success, and they thrive, with empowering, less controlling management styles. It's better to define the outcome you expect from your small teams rather than the specific activities or time spent on them. The pandemic has also given rise to a strong sense the traditional 9 to 5 needs to be reconsidered. A recent study found that 68% of UK employees think that set-hour contracts are no longer relevant to the modern way of working. The same number also believe that their employees should revisit the length of the working week and the hours their staff are expected to work. Ultimately, 74% of employee contracts should focus on meeting the needs of the role and less on the numbers of hours worked. So that's interesting from the kind of employee perspective. In addition, giving the teams clear objectives, and both the accountability and autonomy for delivering them, leaders need to guide, inspire, and enable small teams. Leaders need to help their staff overcome challenges that bog them down, and help to direct the teams to the best opportunities, aiming them with the right expertise and giving them the tools they need to move fast. teams and individuals should understand what they're responsible for in delivering in terms of results. The leaders can focus on monitoring the outcomes. When leaders focus on the outcomes and the outputs, virtual workers deliver high quality work. So going back to Netflix and Uber, they're great examples of focusing on the outcomes rather than the hours worked. So we know your business is likely to need remote working technologies for a while yet. So what does a great remote working solution look like? No one would have been able to work from home successfully and productively without using some form of cloud technology. Cloud is secure, just like any other offering, as long as you have the knowledge on how to correctly administer it and deploy its services. With cloud, you pay for what you use. Your IT admin teams have less responsibility. Obviously, there's no managing of the underlying hardware and the systems. It can be argued that cloud offers stronger backup and disaster recovery and business continuity options. Cloud providers, AWS and Azure, they both have data centers across the globe, right? And if there was to be a natural disaster, this for example, within the UK, say an earthquake impacted the whole of the UK, both AWS and Microsoft Azure, its global services would continue to run. And dependent upon the services that you're consuming or you've configured, you could either recover all of your business files and systems or carry on working as if nothing happened. Or if a global pandemic hits, your staff can continue to work from home and they've got the exact same access that they did to do the jobs as if they were in the office. Staff should be able to use any device, their own in conjunction with a bring your own device policy, or a works laptop, mobiles or tablets. They should be able to work from anywhere, anytime. And there's no reason this can't be as efficient, as easy, and as secure as working from their laptop in the office on your network. Cloud-based access to documents. So this could be a document management solution such as SharePoint, or it could just be a cloud document storage like OneDrive. OneDrive more for your personal, SharePoint more for your corporate data. Productivity suites, Microsoft 365 or G Suite, why is Microsoft Office 2016 better than 365 or vice versa? You'll always have this conversation here of, do I go 365 or do I go with the upfront purchase? I'm going to purchase my software. I'm going to have the perpetual license. The thing with the perpetual licenses is you don't get all the features and the functionalities that the 365 services put in there using the power of Microsoft Azure in the back end. Productivity also goes into your communication solutions. So Teams or Zoom, Zoom, very popular. Teams, its popularity has skyrocketed throughout this pandemic. I think there was a stat there of, I think it was 413 million meetings are being taken every day on Teams. But put all these solutions together and this will make a fantastic work from home solution. So what you can do right now to get one step closer to the ideal remote working solution? Well, first of all, we'd recommend a full IT audit. This allows us to review your current licenses, tools, and systems in place. We'll then work with you to plan your migration that ensures you're up and running with little effect to your users in a secure, cost-effective, and scalable solution. You need just like the other topics we spoke about there. Once we understand your outcome, we can put the solution in place that meets it. So no more workarounds, or this will do for now. Right at the start, people thought, okay, COVID-19 is coming. We'll have a 3-week, 4-week, 5-week maybe slowdown. But now we're kind of 4-5 months into this, and we're still, the end isn't in sight yet. So this means it's time to assess the tools, your systems, your software that you've adopted since working remotely to ensure it's been set up properly and securely. Just like the panic buying at the supermarkets, there was also a rush to purchase laptops. Global availability was already reduced due to the Windows 7 end of life and the whole Intel chip debacle. Today, we're still seeing shortages of laptops, and of course, with that, there are also limited discounts when purchasing these devices. So we've seen plenty of companies using workarounds or hacks as a solution to get around this, allowing staff to use their own devices due to the shortages. Why it can be very helpful, if you were in the office, and if you were able to take home your hardware, PCs, monitors, laptops, but using personal devices shouldn't be seen as a cost-saving exercise. Personal devices, they have been used in many situations as a stopgap because it was thought it was only going to be for a shorter period than it has been so far. All devices, whether it be personal, corporate, they should be managed and secured. You need to be able to wipe your business data from any device, personal or corporate, if the device is lost, stolen, or if an employee leaves the business. It's not as easy to come up to an employee and get them to hand back their device these days. For those businesses allowing employees to take home PCs and monitors, this really limits the ability for those users to do a split work from home and work from the office on days. Also, considerations need to be made if another local lockdown was to be announced. You need a solution that will work long term, no matter what external circumstances arise. Buying new hardware can be very expensive. Using a virtual desktop or desktop as a service like AWS and Azure offerings, they allow you to only pay for what you use. Solutions like Windows Virtual Desktop cost as little as £10 per user per month based on a 50-user environment. That reduces to £5 per user per month for 500 users. And as you add more users, it becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. But if you're going to continue to use, to allowing your staff to use their own devices from home, even if it is a company one, there are better ways to grant access to files and systems in a more secure way. I've covered off 365 licenses and Intune for device management in some previous webinars, but I will be having a more in-depth look in an upcoming webinar in August also. So virtual desktops allows employees to use almost any device, and have access to their full Windows 10 desktop to access their applications and files, but via a cloud-hosted platform. They're easy, they're secure, and they're very popular at the moment, in high demand right now. In fact, at the beginning of lockdown, I wrote an article, and it's remained our most popular piece of content on our website. So why are remote desktops so popular? Well, as I said, you can use almost any device. You can use any Windows 10, you can use a Mac, you can use an iOS, you can use the Android device. You can even use a web browser like Safari, Chrome, Firefox, Edge to access your full Windows 10 desktop. So staff, so this allows your staff to use their own devices securely without the risk of data leakage. Policies and rules can be set up so they can access the full desktops, but only allow certain applications, access to certain applications, or better still, you can publish your applications so your legacy applications are available via a web browser. So on top of this, you can add conditional access, and enforce multi-factor authentication, MFA. So here, this is for strict rules to protect your data and prevent files being shared onto personal devices or even accessed from personal devices. So this is a big one, for GDPR problem you want to avoid. Two of the most popular solutions at the moment for cloud-based virtual desktops is Windows Virtual Desktop and Amazon Workspaces. But in my opinion, Windows Virtual Desktop should be your first consideration if you already have a Microsoft 365 license. Now, there's other considerations to have here as well about where your workloads are already. So if you do have workloads already in Amazon, it probably makes more sense to go down that road. Keep your users close to the actual applications. But if you want to learn more about this one, you can grab a free copy of my Remote Desktops ebook from our website as well. So employees may not have the office productivity tools they require for their day-to-day work. This includes systems that aren't cloud-based, and they need to be used from a work PC within the company's internal network. For systems that are slow or don't work outside of the network, outside of the office network, staff may have spent a while, looking for workarounds or simply avoiding that system altogether. With many vendors offering free trials or extended promotions, staff might have now found new apps, or tools that help them do their job remotely. And if it's not regulated or approved by your IT team, then this is called shadow IT. Shadow IT can be a big problem for data security. Whilst the use of shadow IT is understandable, if it hasn't been approved by your IT teams, then the ability for understanding where your data is and securing it effectively, and not being exposed to data breaches is on the rise there. The problem with shadow IT is that without the oversight of your IT department, it's very easy for shadow IT to become the access point for cyber attacks. For employees that they unwittingly create these vulnerabilities. If they're using Google Drive or Dropbox to store and share their content instead of OneDrive, have they implemented MFA on those accounts, like may have been enforced or should have been enforced via IT for OneDrive? So first of all, start with a full audit. Look at your business, look at what data is most sensitive and where it is. Find out what tools are being used and why. Ask people to be honest with complete amnesty. If we kind of asked you, do you understand your data? Do you know where your sensitive files are and who has access to them? Gain understanding of the tools everyone needs. For example, staff may need ways of conducting video calls, cloud storage of those documents for the ability to share with others, and planning tools. But there may be more department-specific needs. You'll have to take into consideration. It might be finance, invoicing, marketing automation, or project planning. Set up ways of securely using these tools. And try to standardize and improve the usage of newly selected tools. Especially if they're employee-driven tools. So if your employees have asked you to deploy these tools, you need to understand the tool, understand how it can be secured, and how that fits in with your business requirements. Whilst providing the functionalities your employees need, you may be looking at another tool that ticks those boxes. Particularly now, it's important to be empathetic to others who are trying to do their best. Staff will appreciate you being lenient through these transitions. If you need more convincing, shadow IT does have its benefits too. 80% of companies, should deploy more employee-suggested tools. But if the tools aren't fit for purpose, create a plan to provide an alternative tool that does meet your business objectives. Communicate with your, to the business about new and existing tools. It'd be useful for staff to know exactly what is available, especially with the changes that have been happening via work from home. Importantly, provide training, on best how to use these tools. Training is one of those things. If you don't provide the training for a new tool, then employees will revert back to the ways of the old. Encourage communication. So allow staff to suggest new tools, so you can vet them, or guide staff towards something more appropriate. Have someone responsible for this, so people know who to turn to with suggestions, queries, or concerns. If this means if there is a breach or an issue, then staff aren't scared to report it, because there's a process in place to actually, to try and actually remedy these, and you don't waste too much time trying to figure out who they need to tell. So choose awareness training. Your staff are your number one security risk. If they click on a risky link, or if they access a site, they'll normally be restricted in your office and downloads malicious software, and or if they fall victim to a phishing email, then that's your business data that's compromised. You need to educate your team about the risks, how to avoid becoming the reason the cyber attack was to happen. You can learn more about awareness training. So passwords, they are literally the key. Strong passwords seem obvious and simple, but this is critical when people are signing up for websites, tools, and services with their work emails and addresses. Imagine if they use the same password for a new system that they do for their finance system. It can be useful to remind, or ideally enforce staff regularly change their passwords. If your staff have an understanding of how to create strong passwords, then that will make it near impossible for password encryption software to work. So we don't have passwords there, but on top of passwords as well, MFA. Just about every application or any good software as a service application has the ability for multi-factor authentication. Use it. It will stop 99% of any hacking attempt. So the way in which staff can be more productive and agile will be based upon the tools that they're provided with. For many cloud, software as a service productivity suites like Microsoft 365 and G Suite, they tick all the boxes. They provide the full range of tools and apps that your workers need, delivered by the cloud provider. You can eradicate the need for workers to find the workarounds or use those rogue apps and shadow IT. But ensure your data is protected, and backed up should be a priority. A lot of companies aren't aware that that these SaaS applications, so 365, G Suite, backup doesn't come standard with these cloud SaaS productivity suites. Even in Microsoft's SLAs for Office 365, they will state regularly back up your data. So what's the biggest threat to your data? Well, the answer is your employees. Not because they want to do bad things, but because they're easily deceived. Cybersecurity is fundamentally a human problem. It's not a technical one. Having the best solution in the world will have no effect if they're not implemented properly, or if they're not continually updated as technology evolves. We've already seen how cyber criminals are using, people working from home on unsecure networks, and devices as the perfect opportunity to hack, phish, and scam. For those using VPNs, you know how useful they are, but the drawback is they don't enforce the stricter data security regulations and policies that were in place when you're within the safe confines of the office network. Now all it will take is one breach or a near miss for a business to review how data security is enforced for remote workers. Phishing attacks are getting harder and harder to recognize. More and more spoofing. So spoofing is a message from someone that you know, but it might look a bit unusual. This could mean that the sender's email was compromised. So if you do kind of, get one of these spoofing attacks, always contact the sender, via other means than email, and ask if it was legitimate. So best to go down the phone road, because if you're on 365, their account's been compromised by email, then they may also be in person, that person within Teams as well. So it's a well-known fact that your staff are the biggest threat to cybersecurity. Think, about who clicks on risky email links, opens dangerous attachments from unknown senders, or downloads unsafe programs. If you're not around to help them when they're at home alone, it's better to be prepared for a cyber attack than trying to recover after your company is attacked. Successful cybersecurity practices depend on creating a culture of security awareness. So user awareness training can assist with keeping staff safe. They can be informed and on high alert. Train your users against phishing and spoofing. Train users so when they receive emails that look even slightly suspicious, they'll do the following. Hover over the link, look for a name of the actual website that the link is sending you to. Search for the legitimate website instead of clicking on the link. Training the users shouldn't be seen as a penalty. Educate first, test after. If you test first, it'll feel like more of a punishment. So train, then test, as I said. So fish your users, so test them with third-party products that produce real-world lookalike attacks. A common approach is to turn training into a game, kind of gamification. So at PI, we often get emails from Microsoft asking for our login details, or from our CEO asking us to review the attached document. So this does keep us on our toes and keep us aware. One of those things there for attaching a document. Well, as policy, we don't attach documents to emails. We share links out of SharePoint. So reporting, so you need to make sure you're able to report on any of the tests and the education material. You need to know if it's value for money or effective. So again, at PI, once we've sent staff a phishing email, we can see how many people read the email, how many clicked on the links, and also how many people have reported that to our IT teams. So looking to the future, what's coming for the future of remote working, and how can you prepare? Well, first of all, it's the challenge we talked about a bit earlier, is communication and staying connected. Customer interactions are going to change. Social distancing isn't going anywhere fast. Even once we're back in the office, what about the customer or partner-facing appointments or meeting, conferences, events? Online meetings are going to be the go-to for an extended period, before we start jumping on a train or a plane for 1 to 2 hours, just to have a quick meeting. The emphasis on secure online meeting rooms with quality audio and video conferencing capabilities will only increase. This means that you need you need to have a tool that's easy to use, communication solution that enables external users to get involved with meetings and conferences, chats. So within Teams, you've got the ability there to be able to set up a team channel and allow external resources to share the content that they are storing on there. So Box's CEO said, virtual meetings are beneficial. So this is from their side. They're faster, right? So the thing with video conferencing and the virtual meetings, you can check in on customers in the US, Japan, Europe, all in one day. The salespeople can meet 5 to 8 customers a day now, instead of having to jump on the train. It nearly took them 3 days in the past just to see one just to see one customer because of travel. It's technology to the rescue for this one. So people are scrambling for high-end, easy-to-use communication solutions. Except now, they know that they no longer cost thousands to implement. They can be as cheap as a few £100 for a quality setup. Microsoft Teams is a prime example of that. As of June 14, the use of Microsoft Teams grew by 894% compared with its usage in the week of February 17. So this by far surpasses its main competitor, Zoom. So Teams, the popular Microsoft communication platform is evolving all the time based upon the customer demand. This gives you an easy, effective way of connecting to your staff, customer, and partners and vendors. So we'll have a quick look how Teams is evolving based upon new demands and expectations. So recent studies have shown that many of us feel less connected, since moving to remote work, and experience more fatigue during video meetings, webinars, than the kind of in-person, collaborative meetings. To combat this, teams have developed a few new features, such as Together Mode. So this one's coming soon. So it's a new meeting experience that uses AI to digitally place participants in a shared background, making it feel more like you're in the same room as everyone else within the meeting. So the large gallery view, again, this is coming in August. So this sees videos of up to 49 people in a meeting at the same time. You also get virtual breakout rooms coming in August as well. So split meeting participants into smaller groups for things like brainstorming sessions or group discussions. So especially in those longer kind of events or there might be project kickoff meetings or kind of whatever it is, but you can now, rather than having to call back and create a new meeting, you'll just be able to break off into those breakout sessions. So another one coming soon. So this is Reflect. So this is the Reflect messaging extension. So this will help well-being by providing suggested check-in questions and the ability to add custom questions. So live reactions. So react in a meeting using emojis. So also add a bit of fun to it. So this is the next step towards closer to a more meaningful interactions with customers and partners. So key takeaways from this webinar. Remote working is here to stay. So conduct a full IT audit to ensure the viability of your tools and systems and software and hardware for the coming months. Avoid data security issues of workarounds and shadow IT with powerful SaaS and productivity suites like Microsoft 365 and G Suite. Hardware shortages may continue. We're still seeing it today. So ensure you have a robust remote working solution in place that enables your staff to securely use their own devices if required, or if it is part of your policies. Cybersecurity attacks are on the rise. So make sure that your systems are protected and the staff are trained and on high alert. Remote meetings, conferences and events. These appointments are going to continue. So make sure you've set up a high quality communication solution. So Perfect Images is offering incentives and free consultations to support our customers to develop their remote workforce. So if your business is experiencing challenging or pains with remote working, please get in touch. We're offering free consultations for UK businesses at the moment for whether it be for cloud readiness assessments, remote working assessments. We're doing custom ones on Windows Virtual Desktop. So we'll have a chat about all the issues you're facing and, importantly, to understand what you want to achieve, you know, what do you want that outcome to be, and how we can help fulfill your goals. Our job is to turn business problems into technical solutions. I hope today's webinar has given some insights into the future of remote working and how this can help you prepare. Sorry, I'm just going to check for any questions now. So basically, is it possible to get a copy of the slides after the event? I'm sure we can do something there. This will be available on demand as well, but we'll have your details, so we'll reach out to you there for that one. Okay, just checking for another one there. Okay, yep. So this one is around the Teams chat plugin. So the Reflect one. So that is it's not available yet. That is going to be in August. So that's kind of one of the coming soon features. Okay, Kate, did you have any from your side there? I think that's all the questions I've had come through to me.
No, I think that's all the questions that I can see as well. Thanks, Andy.
Cool, not a problem. If you do have any questions now, you think of one later on, just feel free to get in touch. My details are there on the screen. And also, if you want to check out the previous webinars we've done, and there are a few more up and coming as well. So it is intended to be a series, so they kind of do lead one to the other. All right, thank you.